If you're applying to medical or dental school for 2027, listen up, because everything you thought you knew about the UCAT is probably wrong. The old scoring system? Gone. Those safe benchmarks you've heard about? Completely dead. Welcome to the explainer that's going to decode all these sweeping 2026 UCAT changes. We're going to show you exactly how to navigate this wild new landscape. And stick around, because later on, I'll share a massive shortcut to mastering these updates using the Applaa app. Okay. Let's dive right into this massive question, because those old benchmarks are dead and buried. If you've been scrolling through forums or chatting with older med students, you've probably heard people bragging about their 2800 or 2900 scores. Well, do yourself a favor and erase those numbers from your memory right now. Here is your very first actionable tip. Stop looking at pre-2025 student forums. Seriously, they're only going to give you a totally false sense of security. The ground rules have fundamentally shifted, and understanding this new definition of a good score is the absolute first step in your entire strategy. Here is our strategic roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The 2026 UCAT changes. 2. Decoding the new score. 3. The situational judgment wildcard. 4. University application strategy. And 5. Your 2026 preparation timeline. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the 2026 UCAT changes, and the end of the 3600 scale. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Abstract reasoning has been entirely removed to simplify the test. That means your maximum cognitive score is now 2700, not 3600. You might be wondering, why on earth did the UCAT consortium do this? Well, research actually showed that abstract reasoning had lower predictive validity for university success. Plus, frankly, it was highly coachable. So now you're only being tested on 3 cognitive sections: verbal reasoning, decision-making, and quantitative reasoning. And honestly, this is exactly where a targeted tool like Applaa becomes absolutely essential. It lets you concentrate your practice exclusively on these 3 high-yield areas with step-by-step explanations, without wasting your precious study time on outdated question banks. Now pay close attention to how the timing has shifted here. You now have exactly 37 minutes to tackle 35 logic-based decision-making questions. Because abstract reasoning was removed, the test makers actually added 6 extra questions and 6 extra minutes to the decision-making section. Your overall cognitive score range is now sitting between 900 and 2700. So here's a huge actionable tip for you. Start practicing your pacing immediately. The margin for error is so much smaller now, meaning your mental stamina across these specific time blocks needs to be razor sharp. You literally cannot afford to zone out. Moving right along to Section 2, decoding the new score, and why percentiles matter way more than raw numbers. With that old 3600 scale gone, we have to completely rethink how we evaluate performance. You just can't aim for a specific historical number anymore. It's all about where you sit compared to everyone else taking the test. The crucial anchor point you need to know is 1891. That was the mean average score out of 2700 for the most recent testing cycle. Think of it kind of like a foot race, right? It doesn't really matter what your stopwatch says, it only matters how many people you cross the finish line ahead of. If you score an 1891, you are exactly in the 50th percentile. Half the candidates scored higher, half scored lower. This is the new baseline from which all university cutoffs are going to be judged. So please, do not compare your score to pre-2025 numbers. If you want to be in the excellent top 10% bracket, which is absolutely what you need for the most selective schools like Oxford or Cambridge, you need to aim for a 2220 or higher. A very good score, which opens doors at the majority of medical schools, sits between 2100 and 2219. Now, if you find yourself closer to that 1891 average, don't panic. Just realize that your university choices will require a highly strategic, calculated approach. And if you're wondering how to actually track where you stand before the real exam, using the Applaa app is a total game changer. It dynamically calculates your mock percentiles against thousands of other current users, letting you know instantly if you're hitting that excellent 2220 bracket. All right, Section 3, the situational judgment wildcard. This is the unscored deal breaker. Let's look at the 4th section, the situational judgment test, or SJT. This is reported completely separately from your 2700 cognitive score. And here is a terrifying reality check. 1 in 10 students receive a Band 4. Band 1 is top performance. It means your judgment aligns perfectly with an expert panel. Band 2 is good and very common. Band 3 is moderate. But that 10% sitting in Band 4, that represents thousands of students who just put a massive red flag right on their medical school applications. To conquer the SJT, you've got to understand that it is not a test of your clinical knowledge or even just basic common sense. It doesn't test medical facts at all. Instead, it tests how closely your judgment matches a specific published framework of professional values. It's essentially a cheat code. The test makers are literally using the General Medical Council's Good Medical Practice document as the answer key. So for example, if you see a senior colleague make a dangerous mistake, your common sense might say, oh, I'll talk to them privately to save face. But the GMC framework dictates that patient safety comes first, making reporting it immediately the very appropriate action. Let's break down the rules. Patient safety comes first and overrides all else. Patient autonomy must be respected. Honesty and transparency are non-negotiable. And always work within your competence and seek supervision. If you internalize these 4 core principles, you've basically unlocked the cheat code to avoid Band 4. Let's be really clear here. Patient safety always overrides professional loyalty or embarrassment. If a patient refuses treatment, their autonomy must be respected. If you make a mistake, you have to be transparent. And if you are out of your depth, you escalate to a senior. It really is that straightforward, and applying these rules methodically is exactly how you achieve a Band 1. Section 4. University Application Strategy. How to match your score to the right school. Now that you understand the data, you need to know how to strategically deploy your score. Getting a great UCAT score is only half the battle. The other half, applying to the universities that will actually reward your specific score profile. You see, the BMAT exam is officially discontinued, meaning every single UK medical school, including Oxbridge, now requires the UCAT for 2026 entry. This is a monumental shift in the admissions landscape. Universities like Oxford, Cambridge, UCL, and Imperial, which previously relied on the BMAT, have fully transitioned to the UCAT. So if you hit that 90th percentile, that 2220 plus, the entire board of medical schools is wide open for you to play. You absolutely must match your strengths to the school's specific policy. If you scored in the top 10%, you want to target those UCAT-heavy schools to pretty much guarantee an interview. For instance, once you meet their minimum academic threshold, Bristol ranks applicants 100% by their UCAT score. It's a pure numbers game. Here's an actionable tip. Don't let your ego dictate your applications. If your score is hovering around 1900, do not waste a choice on Bristol. Pivot to holistic schools like Kiel or Plymouth, where your GCSEs and a strong personal statement can carry you through, and blend with your UCAT score to secure that interview. But remember what we said about the SJT? Even if you achieve a flawless cognitive score of 2700, bombing the SJT wildcard section can completely derail your medical dreams. It doesn't matter if your math and logic skills are absolutely off the charts. If you score Band 4, elite schools like Edinburgh and Manchester will throw your application out automatically. It is a harsh reality check on exactly why you cannot ignore the situational judgment section during your prep. Finally, Section 5, your 2026 preparation timeline. These are the important deadlines you simply cannot miss. To wrap up our strategic roadmap, we really need to get your calendar organized, because all of this strategy means absolutely nothing if you miss a critical administrative deadline. Record these dates immediately. Missing the September booking deadline means you simply cannot apply to medical school this year. You're going to want to register and book as early as possible, ideally right in June, so you get your preferred testing date and time. Remember, the official test window runs from July to late September, and the best part is your score is delivered to you immediately on test day. This allows you to know your exact score before you submit your final UCAS application in mid-October. So you now possess the data and the timeline. The 2026 UCAT is leaner, meaner, and demands absolute precision. This is where you stop reading and start doing. I highly recommend downloading the Applaa app to supercharge your prep. Applaa offers targeted, step-by-step explanations, incredibly helpful screen-recorded mock walkthroughs, and it perfectly replicates the new 2,700-point scoring system, so there are absolutely zero surprises on test day. Hit the link in the description to download Applaa and start climbing those percentiles right now. The roadmap is laid out in front of you. The only question left is, will you be the one defining the new 90th percentile or the one falling behind it? Keep learning, keep pushing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.